The line at gate C14 had been standing for 11 minutes when the trouble began. Vera Okoye noticed it before most people did, because she was near the back of the queue and had nothing to do but watch. She was 63 years old, recently retired from 31 years of teaching 6th grade English, and she had learned a long time ago that the most important things in a room were rarely the loudest things. She had a window seat in coach, a paperback in her carry-on, and a patience built from decades of 12-year-olds who thought they were smarter than she was. She could wait. The gate agent, the name tag read Hollander, was the kind of man who wore authority like a blazer that didn't quite fit. Tall, broad through the shoulders, with the particular set of the jaw that comes from a life of small permissions granted and withheld. He worked the podium with the efficiency of someone who had decided a long time ago that his instincts were reliable. The woman at the front of the line had handed him a boarding pass. She was somewhere in her mid-50s, Vera guessed, dressed quietly, a charcoal blazer, a dark carry-on pulled close, the kind of woman who had stopped needing to announce herself. She offered the pass without ceremony, the way a person does when they have stood in 100 lines exactly like this one. Hollander scanned it. Then he looked up. "This is a first-class ticket," he said. The inflection made it a question without being one. "Yes," the woman said. He looked at the pass again. He looked at her. Something shifted in his expression. Not suspicion exactly, more like calculation. "I'm going to need to verify this. The system's been kicking up some errors this morning. This one looks like it might be a mistake." "It isn't a mistake. Ma'am, I'm just saying the system. It is not a mistake," she said, and her voice was the same. Steady, unhurried, the way still water is steady. "That is my boarding pass. That is my seat. If you could step to the side, I can have someone from the desk. You asked to see my boarding pass. I showed it to you." She did not move. "If there is a question about its validity, I would like to hear the specific question." Vera watched Hollander's jaw tighten. Behind her, someone in line shifted their weight. A man near the window gave a small, impatient exhale, the sound of a person who has already decided which side of a story he is on. Vera was not sure yet which side she was on. The pass could be fraudulent. Upgrades did get flagged. She had seen stranger things in 30 years of school administration. She told herself this. "Show me your real boarding pass," Hollander said. His voice had dropped, flattened. The words came out with a kind of settled certainty, the certainty of a man who had looked at a situation and drawn a conclusion and considered the matter closed. "The one that matches your actual seat." The woman looked at him for a moment. Then she reached into the front pocket of her carry-on and produced a phone. She did not raise her voice. She did not address the room or look to the other passengers for witnesses. She stepped a half step to the side of the podium. Not back, not away, a half step, and placed a call. Vera heard almost none of it. The gate's ambient noise, the rolling bags, the overhead announcements, the hum of the jetway, swallowed most of the words. She caught the tone, which was level, precise, and unhurried, the tone of a person reporting a fact to someone who would find it useful. She caught one phrase near the end. "Gate C14, Meridian Flight 2247. I'd like it documented." The call lasted perhaps 90 seconds. The woman lowered the phone, slid it into her pocket, and stood with her carry-on and waited. She did not look at Hollander. She looked at the jetway door with the mild patience of someone who has decided that the outcome is already settled and is simply allowing the mechanics of it to catch up. Hollander scanned the next person in line. He did not look at her again. But he had the posture of a man waiting for something, though he would not have admitted it. Vera had taught children long enough to recognize the body language of someone waiting to be corrected. She recognized it now in a grown man in a Meridian Airways uniform, and the recognition was both sad and clarifying. 6 minutes passed. 7. The line moved. Vera found herself 3 places from the front. Then a door behind the gate podium opened and a woman came through, younger than Hollander, with a tablet pressed against her forearm, and the specific expression of someone whose morning has just become far more complicated than it was 3 minutes ago. She went directly to Hollander. She spoke quietly. Whatever she said, Hollander's face went through several changes in the space of 4 seconds. Confusion, resistance, something that might have been the first edge of understanding. He stepped back from the podium. The woman with the tablet took his place. She turned to the composed woman, still standing to the side, and said, "Miss Osi-Mensah, I'm so sorry for the delay. Please, go ahead." The name landed in the room the way names do when A room doesn't yet know what they mean, but understands from the weight of the moment that they mean something. Vera would look it up later, on her phone, somewhere over the clouds between here and her daughter's house. She would find Delphine Osi-Mensah, senior partner and chief accounts officer of the Caldwell-Marin Group, a logistics and maintenance firm whose name appeared, if you searched, in connection with several large aviation contracts, including, it happened, Meridian Airways' primary maintenance agreement. A contract that, by the time Flight 2247 reached its cruising altitude, had been formally suspended pending review. The figure cited in the internal notice, which would make its way to the aviation trade press within 48 hours, was $140 million. Vera did not know any of this yet, standing at gate C-14, watching Delphine Osi-Mensah take the handle of her carry-on and walk through the jetway door without looking back. What she knew was simpler, and it was enough. She knew the way the woman had stood, the way the voice had stayed exactly the same, not louder, not quieter, not hotter, through every moment of the exchange. She knew the 90-second phone call and the thing it had summoned. The way a note struck cleanly on a tuning fork will bring every matching frequency in a room to life, whether you can see the vibration or not. She knew the look on Hollander's face in the 3 seconds before he stepped back from the podium, the look of a man whose certainty had collided with a fact he could not manage away. She had seen that look before. She had spent 31 years in a classroom giving it, gently, to children who had confused confidence with knowledge. The woman with the tablet processed the rest of the line with quiet efficiency. She did not explain what had happened. She did not need to. The room had felt it, the way rooms feel things, not all at once, not with full understanding, but with the body's older knowledge that the terms of a situation have changed. The man who had exhaled impatiently earlier was very quiet now. When Vera handed over her own boarding pass, coach, window, row 24, the woman with the tablet smiled at her and thanked her for her patience. Vera thanked her back and meant it, because patience had just shown her something worth seeing. She settled into her seat, stowed her bag, opened her paperback, and did not read a word of it for the first 20 minutes of flight. She sat with the image of a woman in a charcoal blazer making a quiet phone call and meaning every syllable of it, not out of anger, not out of performance, but out of the plain, grounded knowledge that she was right, and that the right mechanisms existed to say so. That was what stayed with Vera. Not the contract figure she would later read about. Not Hollander's face, though she would remember that too. What stayed was the quality of the composure. The way certainty, held long enough and quietly enough, does not need to raise itself to be heard. She thought about the children she had taught. The ones who had sat in her classroom and been told, in one form or another, that the seat they were in was a mistake. She hoped some of them had grown up with that kind of phone in their pocket. The kind that, when you make the call, someone on the other end already knows your name. Flight 2247 touched down at 4:47 in the afternoon. The sky was turning amber over the runway. Vera collected her bag from the overhead bin, filed into the aisle, and walked off the plane into the ordinary noise of an airport terminal, carrying something she had not boarded with. By morning, Bryce Hollander had been relieved of his gate duties pending a formal HR review. The suspension notice for the Caldwell-Marin contract had been delivered to Meridian's executive offices before the plane landed, and Delphine Osi-Mensah had already moved on to her next appointment.